The other viable is marked Voorhees. That's not Jason Voorhees, is it?
What do you know about him?
Jason Voorhees. He killed nearly 200 people and simply disappeared without a trace. But to the right buyer, he could be worth a fortune.
I've got him frozen right here on the ship.
You work up a list of ownership?
No list. He's my find. He's mine.
What about your students?
Well, they're students. The educational experience will be enough.
Doctor, you are one son of a bitch.
Soon to be one rich son of a bitch. Go out.
Hey, Adrenalheads, I'm Mark.
And I'm Jayme.
And this episode, we are covering the movie Jason X from 2011, which is a Friday the 13th film.
2001.
2001? I didn't say that?
You said 2011.
Oh, 2011. Well, yeah, well. Hopefully, it should have came out in 2011, but it didn't. But it was 2001. Okay, cool. All right. Since Jayme, you're here, give us the synopsis for this particular movie.
The year is 2455. The place is Old Earth. Once the shimmering blue jewel of the galaxy, Old Earth is now a contaminated planet, abandoned for centuries. Yet, humans have returned to the deadly place that they once fled. Not to live, but to research the ancient rusting artifacts of the bygone civilization that has caused this environmental disaster. And little does the most recent landing party of intrepid young explorers realize what the fate awaits them.
Interesting. Well, that was taken from IMDb. They tried to make it as vague as possible, I guess. So that's what I picked up, and I threw that in months
So what you
ago.
need to know, the synopsis, my synopsis is...
Go ahead.
Jason, in space, Uber Jason. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, and a lot of fun, too.
And a little bit of CGI.
Yeah, that as well. All right. So basically, we get Jason in space, everybody. So Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees goes into space. He gets that wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing, and he goes into space in the future. And he comes back, and he kills people. So with that, we're going to move right along with this particular movie, and we're going to go into people we may know within the particular film, Jason X. Jayme?
Lexa Doig? I don't know how her last...
Doig.
Doig plays Rowan. She was in the Andromeda TV series, Andromeda Ascendant, which I didn't even know was a thing, Stargate SG-1, that one I knew very well. She played Dr. Carolyn Lamb from 2005 to 2007. She was in the Arrow TV series as Tala Al Ghul from 2017 to 2020, and the Chucky TV series as Bree Wheeler in 2021. And I haven't watched the new season. I'm not sure if she's in it or not.
You gotta see it. So I highly recommend it.
It's so good.
Oh, it's really good. It's pretty cool.
I like it better than the movies, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of people are, and they're really getting into it, which I really do admire. All right, well, next up, the one and only Kane Hodder, Jason Voorhees.
Our number one.
Yep, yeah, our number one. And Jason, Jason. Jayme actually states in here, in this particular quote, saying, most famous person for being the best Jason. And he started his career in 1974 in the movie California Split as Reno poker player, but has created a fan base within the Friday the 13th universe, as we all know, as being the man who played Jason Voorhees the most on film, and the best one, in my opinion, as well as Jayme's.
Agreed.
Yeah. And he is a legend in film as a stuntman, as well as playing as the iconic character that Mark and Jayme both know and love, which is Jason Voorhees. He has also been seen in other films his stunt work goes back to, let's say, Prison 1987. That's where he got his most massive burn, if we all know. And, stuntmen do get burns. Kane got really burnt within that particular film. That's where a lot of his scars are from, I would say, the neck down. He got more over the years as he was doing stunt work, but we mostly know him from other slasher films like the Hatchet series.
Excellent series.
Yep. All 1, 2, and 3 that are out there as Hatchet himself. He was also in House 2, The Second Story in 1987, if you don't recall that. He was in Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings in 1993, and he played Keith Knox. And as Cody in Frozen from 2010, not Frozen from Disney, everybody. It's called Frozen. And it was a ski lift accident where people were stuck on a ski lift. And he was the guy that was at the end of the night that left all those kids there. And, well, just being Kane Hodder as who we all know and love, that we know from conventions, because honestly, Kane is a big warm bear that you just want to hang out and talk to because he's amazing. He's fun.
He's a little bit of a loose cannon, too.
That, too. But, he loves the kids and he loves his fans, as we both know. So, but you've met him a few times, yep. Jayme. I've met him a few times over the years. I think I've met him over like 5 times, geez. And I think he's choked me at least 3 times at those conventions.
He's definitely put a machete really far into my neck a few times.
Yeah. But he's a lovable guy, so we'll love him. So, Kane Hodder as Jason. Well, next up,
Jonathan Potts, who played Professor Lowe. He was in the Hitchhiker TV series as Nick, the coach.
Yep.
And he was in the Swamp Thing mini TV series. TV miniseries. There we go. I got the words in the right order. As Dilbert from 1990 to 1991. I think I entirely missed that I'm going to have to look into that. I like Swamp Thing.
The original series was good, yeah.
I'm going to have to look into that. He was in Supernatural, the TV series, as Arthur Fremont, 2008 to 2016. And most recently, Eli Roth's Haunted House Trick or Treat short, which Where's Waldo, which was this year, 2022.
It's actually Trick VR Treat.
Trick VR
Virtual
Treat.
reality, yeah.
So I didn't make it on Halloween to watching that, but it's on my list of
It's one
things.
of those cool interactual things that you have to do. So I think it was pretty cool. As far as Swamp Thing 2, that was the Dick Durock series back in the early 90s, if you remember, in the 1990 and 91.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into it. I don't remember it from then, but I was also 10 years old.
Oh, sorry. I'm older, so I forget.
Just a little bit.
All right, well, next up will be Lisa Ryder, who plays KM14. We've seen her in such shows like Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. That was from in the early 1990s, I believe. 1994, actually. Forever Night TV series as Detective Tracy Vetter, Angela Mosler from 1995 to 96. Andromeda TV series as Becca Valentine from 2000 to 2005. The Strain TV series, Nurse Greenwood, in 2017. And in the show that, well, we have friends that do podcasting about this show. It's called From. So the From podcast on Podcastica with Alex Baelish and Lizzie. They do From on Podcastica, the TV series. So she played Abby Stevens in 2022.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize her now because I watched From. Now I have to go back.
Yeah. I know. Well, she's very, she's got a striking appearance if you think about it. She's very tall. She's a tall woman. She's at least I'm thinking at least 6 foot. Yeah. I'm thinking Rima Joe tall. And Rima is
tall.
A very tall lady. Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Just like Lisa Ryder as well. Lisa is a redhead, so, if you guys haven't watched the movie, go watch the movie. She's beautiful.
She is.
Yeah. So, but yeah, she's a very tall woman, and she has those striking. The face is just beautiful too, because those chiseled looks.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's the jawline, or just maybe her eyes. Everything is accentuated perfectly. I'm not saying her body. I'm talking about her face, everybody. So calm down. She's a very beautiful woman, just like our friend Rima Joe.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, next up,
is Peter Mensah, who plays Sergeant Brodsky. He was 300 as the messenger, in 2006. Spartacus TV series on Starz as Doctori. Onimas, 2010 to 2013. And Avatar Horse Clan Leader, 2009. I'm going to say I have watched none of that.
Exactly. Same here. But he is very much somebody that you would recognize.
Yeah.
His face is very, for an African-American man, he's got that chiseled bone feature look to his face, his chin, his jaw, under his eye sockets. You could tell who it is. And I just love this character. And I just love his character. I love the actor himself. You'll definitely remember him from the 300. Well, next up would be Christy Angus, who played Adrienne. She was in the TV show Millennium back in the day. Played Lauren/Carlin in 1987 there. Total Recall 2070 TV series, where she played the spokeswoman in 1999. Earth Final Conflict, the TV series, as wife or Talon or controller from 1999 to 2002. And Orphan Black TV series as Charity Sims from 2013 to 2014.
That was a great show.
Yeah. Orphan Black's really great. Tatiana Maslany was really great in that, as well as in She-Hulk.
Yep. Yeah, she's fantastic. All right. Dov Tiefenbach plays Azrael. Yep. He was in the Goosebumps TV series as Fred and Tim Swanson, 1996 to 1998. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle as hippie student in 2004. Law & Order SVU TV series. He was Fitz from 2018 to 2019. And The Umbrella Academy as Fitz 2020.
Yep. He was kind of that goofy kind of character.
Yeah.
And if you remember from Harold and Kumar, he was trying to sell Kumar the weed.
Yeah.
And get with the chicks. And then Kumar kind of ditched him, which was needed. Because he was goofy. But other than that, those are the main characters that we do remember from this particular movie. Pretty much the prominent cast. So with that, we're going to move right along into our general thoughts of the movie. So Jayme, what are your overall thoughts of Jason X from 2001?
It is an awesome bad movie. It is. It is a ton of fun to watch. The virtual reality scene makes it worth it. I love the idea that people still know who Jason Voorhees is 200 years later. And we rarely get to hear about the world outside of Crystal Lake in these movies, so that's a nice little detail.
Yeah, that is true. That's all you had?
For the overall thoughts.
Oh, okay, cool.
We'll get into details later.
We'll go into more details, I guess, per scene and thoughts and...
Yeah.
My thoughts basically of this movie, I just love this movie as campy as it was and how silly as it was. I just love the trope of the continuing saga of films that came out before that had like all the space stuff in it or time travel within it. And they did that with Leprechaun in space years earlier. And of course we had Critters that started the trend, giving us horror sci-fi camp within for those particular films, which literally launched this whole thought. I think at one point they were talking about Freddy in space as well for A Nightmare on Elm Street, but I don't think they conceivably got a screenplay for it. But
I mean, I'd watch it.
Yeah, well, Leprechaun in space, I definitely would cover in time just as a joke and a lark. Maybe for St. Patrick's Day. Who knows? We'll find out when it comes to that. But to me, I think it's pretty funny that they actually did this. But the movie is traditionally a Friday the 13th film, even though it's called Jason X. And there's a reason by that. And we will talk about that later. But to me, this was a biggie for me because it had every element in it that I love. Horror, time travel, because he does go through time. If you think about it, he was suspended in animation.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, humor. There's a lot more humor within this particular film than any other Friday the 13th film that is out there. So it hit three of my favorite topics of any movie. We don't get that with Back to the Future. We don't get that with Time After Time. We don't get that with, what was that Christopher Reeves movie where he traveled through time? I'm forgetting. But
I don't
regardless,
remember.
we don't get it. We don't get that fun stuff, that horror stuff, nothing. But we get that all in this particular film, which is why I enjoy this particular movie. A lot of people will say it's a guilty pleasure. Me, I just love it. So.
It's fun. I will always defend the enjoyment of this movie. It is a fun movie.
It is a fun movie. You get the laughs, you got the gore, and you got Jason. So it basically it pokes fun in itself with the whole sci-fi and horror film and all the cliches that you get. So I love that we get David Cronenberg in the beginning of the film. It proves its point with his character within it too, because literally you put the director of gore and horror in this particular film. He gets killed right in the beginning. That's comedy right there, 101, with horror. Boom. You got it. Plus pokes the fun at our country and being capitalistic, but Jason points it out to them in beginning with his, machete. and cutting them out of certain sequences, which we'll get into when we actually get into this. Sorry, everybody. I'm a little bit congested. But with that, we're going to go into our, I guess our favorite scenes within the actual, the movie itself. So, Jayme, you want to start us off with one so we can get into this great discussion because this is going to be fun.
This movie is so much fun. Honestly, the opening scene, I feel like it gets lost. Like every time I rewatch this movie, I'm like, oh yeah, this scene is actually pretty good. Like Jason's creepy. The body swap is like a really good gag the first time you watch it. It might be some of the better acting in the movie.
Actually, yeah. Well, the fact that the government is trying to cover up everything that happened at Camp Crystal Lake and use Jason, and they think, oh, he is some sort of supernatural being, and they have to actually do something with him. So they're trying, I guess they're testing him and doing all these things, and one guard was off his rocker a little bit, or not paying attention.
Well, no, he was being creeped out, so he put the cover on him. Like, I don't blame him. I don't want to sit there staring at Jason, having Jason stare at me either.
Yeah, but didn't you get that whole wibbly wobbly timey wimey thing where, Jason just shows up and just kills him and then puts him in his place. And then when all the big time, political guys and army guys, which played by David Cronenberg, he comes out and goes, oh, and they pull the mask off. Oh, crap. The hood is off. That's not Jason. That's the guard. Oh, darn. And then he goes on a killing spree, and we get our heroine at that point. Not hero, heroine. A girl, a woman, who is amazing.
And for the Friday the 13th movies, that's normal. It's usually a heroine.
Yeah. Not heroin that you put in your veins, everybody. No. Heroine, that a woman that is a hero. But she actually is able to put Jason into suspended animation, but unfortunately gets stabbed in the process because he stabs right through the container, and then...
Because that machete's made of vibranium.
Or adamantium. Who knows?
One of them.
Wolverine, it would be funny to see Wolverine versus Jason.
Oh, I'd watch that movie.
Yeah. But, yeah, she gets suspended animation with him. And then we reflect years later, and then we go into the story where a teacher, which is weird, right? Are we talking about this story in real time? But we'll talk about it in real time as it is. But who knows? But part of it is part of my favorite. You got a teacher that's in the future that takes kids on a field trip in space, and he's in a ship that looks like a hockey mask.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. A hockey mask. It looks like a hockey mask. So they settle down onto what is considered to be Earth at that time, and they uncover where it would be. I guess the base that they are. They recover Jason and the girl at the same time. They're able to revive her and fix her with, what was it, nanobites or whatever it is.
Nanobots, yeah.
nanobots, yeah, Tony Stark's kind of thing to reform organic material and bring her back to life. But they keep Jason on cold. But we get a great kill.
We also find out that we've only got 2 years left of hockey before it becomes illegal.
That's exactly it.
I always like that weird little detail. What is that? A hockey mask. A what? Hockey was made illegal in 2024. Or an antiquated game that was outlawed in 2024, I think is what it is.
Yeah. And what year was this at this point?
Well, it's, what did we say at the beginning? 24, 55?
Yeah. So it was a few hundred years.
Just a few.
Yeah. But I just love the fact that they actually used that. But we do see it because Azrael himself, being a kid, being on this quote-unquote field trip, gets his arm cut off, and they use the nanobites to
reattach it,
but they also suture it too, because they kind of vacuum form the arm, and he's walking around.
They give him the
and
fun
he's
drugs.
Holding it. He gets the fun drugs, and he's walking around with his severed arm, and then they reattach it with the nanobites. So kind of, that's foreshadowing an event of what we get later due to Jason. But we get a really good kill at the beginning, too, for one of the most prettiest girls that I saw in this particular movie, too. She was a typical blonde, but she gets her face shoved into the
liquid nitrogen.
So, and then it breaks. He breaks her face off.
Such a good,
wow.
They made good use of that laboratory.
Oh, they did.
That liquid nitrogen is awesome. Because he didn't know that was what that was. Like, he just puts her in. He's like, oh, well then, slam. And just the way Kane carries himself and does all that. And the thing you miss, one of my favorite things in this movie is, or the thing that we skipped over so far, is Jason wakes up because people are having an orgasm.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that holds to the truth of not having sex in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we cut from the sex scenes, the climax of the sex scene, to Jason just sitting up like, I heard
awake.
that. People gotta die now.
He got wood. He's like, I gotta go. I gotta get my machete.
I gotta go kill them.
Oh, well.
That was just a funny, so on point for the Jason trope.
Well, it's the trope of any horror movie. It's obviously if you do drugs, you have sex. What's the other one?
Drugs, drinking, sex.
Okay,
and then just
drugs.
saying, I'll be back.
Yeah. So you got 4 at least. But I thought it was pretty funny.
It was hysterical.
Yeah.
I feel like also Kane is at his truest Jason in this. Like, he's just like...
Yeah.
I
hulking.
know... Yeah.
He's got that hulking aspect of him, and pronounced.
And he can also, small movements of his head
and
really tell a story. Like, that head tilt he does is amazing.
Yeah, this is why we love Kane Hodder as our Jason, Me and Jayme have both expressed this on my favorite Jason Voorhees. So, you guys already know this. I just love that whole thing, in the very beginning too, with the teacher that's taking him on. I love the fact that he wants to bank on the find of Jason. Talk about a creepy guy. The other guy wakes up sleeping, and he just happens to know, oh, you mean Jason Voorhees? Yeah, that's a find. It's like, hold on, this was hundreds of years ago? How do you remember that from Crystal Lake?
How we talk about Jack the Ripper still?
I guess so, but...
If somebody found Jack the Ripper frozen or whatever, it'd be big news and big money.
I guess if it was a straight razor and a top hat and cloak, but I guess a hockey mask and some sort of coveralls... It's not even coveralls. It's not overalls or anything.
No.
You have to depict or define the person, who they are. I guess he goes, hold on. if the teacher actually said, hold on, there's a hacking slash in the hockey mask itself with blood on it, and it's got 2 red symbols on the side. Oh, that's Jason Voorhees. Then I can understand that, but we didn't. He just right away said, oh, that's Jason Voorhees. I'm like, either A, he loved killers in the past.
And some people do.
That is true. Or this is something that everybody's been looking for a long time.
I think it's more that he knows killers. Like, I think if anybody thought Jason could still be around, they would have found him. I think this was more, oh, that's a name. Like, that's something recognizable. Like,
Well, I think the hockey mask is a dead giveaway at this point.
Right.
And a machete. But honestly, to me, it's just like, okay. All right, we have to suspend our disbelief, I guess, and figure out and say, okay, through this time, throughout this history and this future, they realized that Jason Voorhees wore a hockey mask and had a machete.
yeah.
Not machete.
Different movie.
Different movie, completely. But the fact that he had a machete, and that was his killing weapon, obviously.
And the teacher is such a bad guy. Like, there is no redeeming qualities for this man.
He's a capitalist. He just wants to capitalize, and he knows that he goes, oh, they're all students. I hold all the money.
Yeah. I'm keeping all the money. I'm going to put everybody's lives at risk to possibly get myself some money. Obviously, he's got I think it's a bad gambling problem that he's in debt over.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's sleeping with his students. And of course, it's, the early 2000s, so it has to be over the top. It has to be wearing women's underwear and getting his nipples pinched.
Well, all right, hold on. We haven't talked about Jason Takes Manhattan.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we can, because the teacher or the professor that was in charge of that particular movie, we haven't covered this movie, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But on top of that, they kind of try to depict that professor as being a horn dog. And he wanted to use his kids. Now, mind you, one of the students did her student body on her student body at that time. She kind of painted everything, tried to get an A, and I don't know if he was a homosexual or he was, like, just so particular, or in a sense where he was like, no, I can't do this, which got him killed anyway because he was an asshole. As we know, because we'll talk about that when we get to Jason Takes Manhattan, because he was the father, not the father, he was the uncle of one of the students on the ship. But the thing is that it kind of segues to that, if you think about it. In this case, in this particular movie, this professor was actually taking advantage of his students, whereas in the other movie, Jason Takes Manhattan, the uncle who was the professor was kind of being coerced by the student to get a good grade. It's weird. It's kind of a different dynamic. Do you think about that? Or am I crazy about thinking about that way?
No, I can see that. I try not to think about Jason Takes Manhattan. So.
Oh, come on. It had as Ben had mentioned when you guys talked about, what was the topic on Wilhelm? I'm forgetting.
Was it horror? Was it last year's horror movies that we talked about? Jason X?
Yeah. No. You were talking about. He talked about Jason Takes Manhattan this year. About the scene where the guy knocks the block off of the kid.
I'm just gonna stop hitting you. You're almost there. I'm gonna stop hitting you. Oh, you killed me.
It's like, it's like, take your best shot. And he knocks him off, and it's a head. And then they actually have a camera in the head, and he just goes down. Blah, 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 blah. The weirdest scene in Friday the 13th. By the way, you guys have to watch that.
No, you don't.
But it's there for a reason. But, yeah, the fact that it's kind of weird how the dynamic between that particular movie and this one. It's like we're hundreds of years in the future, and at this point, the professor likes to wear women's lingerie and get his nipples tweezed or pinched.
Pinched.
Yeah, pinched. And then the girl gets an A, whereas in
she doesn't even
Jason
get an A.
Takes
She
Manhattan,
just passes.
Yeah, well, she gets... she passes. Yeah, it's a pass-fail. And then in Jason Takes Manhattan, The professor you would think of as being a prude because he's not interested in a young girl. She tries to entice him with her body to get that A or to pass her class. And he goes, no.
I mean, you are talking about high school versus college too, but yeah, no, that's an interesting connection. I hadn't thought of that.
It's the same thing. I think it's kind of funny, but it's the world of Friday the 13th, in my opinion, because this is still the world of Friday the 13th. Yes, it's Jason X. Yes, that was called Friday. Was it Friday the 13th? Yeah.
Yeah, Jason Takes Manhattan was Friday the 13th. This is technically not.
Yeah, well, who cares? It's still part of the series.
Right.
In my opinion. But regardless, the two extreme opposites between both films. But I just found it funny and ironic. But, to do a comparison, just saying, oh, okay, in the future, okay, it's acceptable to pinch my nipples to get ass. And then in 1988, 89, okay, I'm trying to entice my professor, and he's not going to pass me. Okay. It's weird. Just to show a little diversity within the series itself. Do you have another one?
The fact that Jason blew up an entire space station. That gives him a giant body count. Like, we don't even know the number. He must have killed over 1,000 people in one shot.
Well, you have to figure... All right, we're talking about the students, the people that were working on the ship, right?
Right. Not on the ship, on the space station that they were going to land at to drop Jason off where the sleeping guy was. And he blew up the whole space station.
Yes. All right. Yeah, that scene.
That's a huge body count for him.
That is a huge body count. New Line, come back to us. Give us a full body count. We need to know that. ASAP. All right. Well, next up, I just loved in the very beginning with, let's talk about Azrael and his friend from the military that they're working with, because it was a military expedition as well as a student. They have that virtual reality.
Which takes you a second to realize. I like the way they introduced it, because at first you're like, whoa, there's aliens on this ship.
Yep. And we find out it's not aliens. It's just a virtual reality simulation of like a combat routine. And Azrael's there with that. The guy gets his head cut off by Jason. And they think, oh, it's another illusion. It's a hologram. And he goes, end program. And when they do end program, well, that's when shit gets real.
Yep.
Yeah, and Azrael actually does lose it at that point, as well as the military guy. But I think the funniest part, too, and you will agree with this, it's taken out of Friday the 13th, Part 7. What was it? What was the name of the line? New Blood?
New Blood.
The knapsack slamming against the tree.
Yep.
He does that, but he does that a number of times to the point where he just keeps doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And they get confused. And they're like, all right, we need a distraction. Hi, do you want to smoke pot? And they take their tops off.
It's the best scene. It is.
I love
we
that
are
scene.
Skipping way ahead, but it goes with the virtual reality part. It is what makes this, in my opinion, the virtual reality scene makes this movie when he's like, computer, generate Crystal Lake 1980, because the computer just has this knowledge. I love that they have a program for Crystal Lake in 1980, but whatever.
Yes. Yeah. To me, I love this particular scene for the fact that it was so cliched for all of the Friday the 13th films. And it was taken literally as a joke, even from, before Freddy versus Jason, kind of with that conversation that you and Ben had about Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Not Friday the 13th, but Freddy versus Jason, when he goes, "Are you finished yet? Are you finished coming?
And
Are you coming?"
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar to that reaction, but in this case, it's like, hold on. Hi, do you like to smoke pot? And they just take off their tops. And it's just like, you want a beer? I'm like,
what about premarital sex? And just the hands in their the head in their hands. We love premarital sex.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that he was still banging that knapsack with the girl in it,
and they're just giggling, giggling, and won't die.
And it got to the point where he realized, I was like, this is pointless.
And he walks away. They're like, well, that was fast. And then the head of the robot is like, wow, he's good.
KM, yeah. She said that. Yeah.
The best. Oh, the first time I watched this with my boyfriend, I was just like hitting him and laughing. I don't think he got a chance to hear what was going on the screen because I was laughing too hard.
I loved it to the fact that it's like, all right, this is a testament to every horror fan that's out there that has a sense of humor.
Yep.
And knows Friday the 13th. And that was the whole point. And this was like my favorite of all favorite scenes. And yes, listeners, I did put that on the Facebook page as a GIF for you guys to figure that out. And a lot of you were like, Jayme got it right away. Ben got it. And he was just like, okay, yeah. But the thing was, you guys didn't really say anything. But to me, it's the funniest thing because it pokes fun at itself as a series. And that's the whole point about it. It's just like, to me, the movie is not a horror movie. It's literally basically laughing at itself. Yeah. The series as itself. And that's what's so fun about it. But we get the one thing that both Jayme and I love. And if you could get your, I really don't know what they call the figures now, but the Uber Jason action figure, if you could get it, is perfect. And if you get the video game, Friday the 13th, they have those particular step-ups where you could get that character within the Friday the 13th game.
Uber Jason is the best. Like, the virtual reality scene is my favorite. Very, very close is Uber Jason. Like, just those two things alone make this movie completely worth watching.
Yeah, the fact that the KM goes to battle with him, her human lover, as it were, or the creator, she kind of deals with her situation of like, I want to be human. I want nipples. And they keep falling off. And because she wants her master to love her as who she is, as like a human. And then next thing you know, he kind of programs her to the point where she's his protector in a sense, but she also is in love with him. And they have this kind of fembot kind of love where, I guess like it's a Cherry 2000. I hate going back in time with like certain films. Cherry 2000, those were love bots back in the day, in the 80s. Antonio Banderas' wife was in that, forgetting her name. I'll forget that, but you guys can come back and yell at me about that. But regardless, basically, KM wanted to be in love with her maker and she would do anything. And that's when she goes nuts and he upgrades her and she's able to destroy Jason. And then he becomes Uber Jason because of the nanobots.
Dude, when he sits up from that table.
Oh, yeah. It's intense and it's the best.
He's so imposing. Oh, it's just such an awesome visual. And such a, like, I don't know if he's necessarily scary, but you don't want to run into him. Like, you're just like, ooh. That's a creepy dude.
And he is a creepy dude. And that was the whole point, was to create this ultimate Uber Jason. And he upgrades not only his body and his mask, but also his machete. And I can't wait for them to actually come out with that. I'm forgetting the name of the toy company.
McFarland? Or Mezco? NECA?
NECA actually does it because
I have a lot of... the three that I know.
Yeah, NECA. Actually, I have a lot of the NECA Jasons. And, they're very well done. And they're looking to come out with that. If not, they've already come out with it, and I just haven't gotten it yet. So,
I don't know that I've seen an Uber Jason figure.
yeah, well, they need to come with both on. Hello.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. He looks amazing, and I would love for Kane to sign that particular figure for me. And I don't think I have an autograph of a picture of him as Uber Jason too.
No, I don't have Uber Jason as a picture.
No, me neither. It means I have to go to Monster Mania Chill Theater or something when he comes back out again and go see him.
Yeah.
And say hello. But in a sense, to me, that was like the best of all that, that we got of Kane. But the thing is, what sucks is this was the last that we got of Kane Hodder as Jason.
He should have been Jason and Freddy versus Jason. I'm okay with him not being in the 2009 remake. That's fine. It should have been Kane versus Robert in that movie.
Yes.
It should have been Kane. That's what everybody wanted. That's what everybody was seeing, and their bullshit reason for not using him was, we wanted somebody who was more closer in height to Robert Englund. It's supposed to be brains versus brawn.
I know. I feel the same way as you, Jayme.
And Kane feels the same way we do.
Well, I know that. And Kurzinger, I'm not giving Kurzinger a bad rap.
No,
he did well for what he did.
But it should be.
It should have been Kane.
It should have been Kane.
I do agree. We both said this last time with our favorite Jason because we mentioned that too, folks. So if you're coming in on this later, go back, listen to that one. Our 5 favorite Jason Voorhees.
Yes.
So yeah, Kane was our number 1, but in this case, we both feel that Kane should have had the honor of being there with Robert Englund and Jason versus Freddy. Yeah. I haven't talked to him since then. Honestly.
No,
I haven't talked to him about that.
I actually have a book, Crystal Lake Memories, and it goes up to Freddy versus Jason. Like, that's when they printed it. And so Freddy versus Jason in there, and there's a fold-out page of, from the movie, and it's, Freddy and Jason. And that's all that it is. And Kane signed it, and he said, "This should be me, Kane."
Of course.
And I just had Robert sign it a few weeks ago.
Kane, as you know, both Jayme and I would love to have you come on to our podcast. I've reached out to your publicist. I got a denial. I have not gotten a denial from you, but I will reach out to you purposely and link this particular podcast to you. Please come on. We want to speak to you. We want to talk to the man himself. We want to talk to Jason. Please come. So with that, we're going to move into...
Well, I've got 2 more little things that we didn't bring up.
2 more little things? Oh my God, you have more stuff than I do, lady.
When the guy goes down the big screw and they go, he got screwed. Like,
of course.
That one, and the professor, when he meets his end, "Don't worry, guys, he just wanted his machete back. Everything's gonna be okay."
That was one of my quotes, too. He just wanted his machete back. I'm a stupid idiot.
Like, he deserved his death.
Oh, he did. Trust me. Yeah, it's like, I'm an idiot. I'm a capitalist. I try to take advantage of young women that want better grades.
Yeah.
He just wanted his machete back. Yeah. No. Not good. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what you had?
That's what I had.
Okay,
I just feel like we would be remiss not mentioning those 2 scenes.
I also have quotes too, but we'll talk about this later. But we'll move right along into interesting and unknown facts about Jason X from 2001. So first up, Jayme?
It was made because Freddy vs. Jason was stuck in development. Cunningham... development hell, yes. Cunningham and New Line poured millions into developing Freddy vs. Jason throughout the 90s, but all had nothing to show for it other than a bunch of unproduced screenplays. By 1999, Cunningham had lost his patience and said yes to what he'd been turning down for years. Just make another dang Friday the 13th movie. The person who finally got the yes out of Cunningham was Jim Isaac, a special effects coordinator for David Cronenberg, who'd made his directorial debut a decade earlier with the Cunningham-produced The Horror Show. No other producer had given Isaac a shot at directing, so Isaac figured the best option to direct again was to convince Cunningham to do Another Friday.
Of course, Another Friday. Well, next up, where did the idea for Jason in Space come from? During Jason X's development process, director Jim Isaac, producer Noel Cunningham, Sean's son, of all people, and screenwriter Todd Farmer kicked around any scenario that could think of. Typically, Jason could go to the hood, snow, underwater, the Arctic, in LA fighting gangs on safari. Or on safari. On safari, really? Him in Africa? Any other than Camp Crystal Lake or New York. They even considered something involving the NASCAR circuit. Farmer suggested in space because he knew Freddy vs. Jason was on the way, and it'd be the best if Jason X was set after the events of that epic battle.
Where Jason wins.
So they needed to jump into the future, and going into space certainly did that. They were a little scared of doing a horror sequel in space, but they thought it could be fun to do a mashup of Ridley Scott Alien and James Cameron's Aliens, with not one but two strong Ripley-type females on ship of a badass space marines hunted by Jason instead of xenomorphs. Literally, there is hearkenings of this if you look at this particular film.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and
yeah.
The very end when when the two guys, when they're both,
floating through
space, flying through space, and then start
and they're attacking each other. Yeah.
Well, Jason's just kind of flying. The other guy's beating him up.
Yep, and it's like Hicks going crazy on the alien at that point. Yeah.
The idea for Uber Jason came from a discarded Freddy vs. Jason script. One of the things which won over everyone to the concept of Jason in space was the idea of kids seemingly killing the hockey-masked bastard halfway through, only for him to be recreated into something even scarier via futuristic technology. The mechanism of this change ended up being nanotechnology, an idea screenwriter Todd Farmer lifted from Virtuosity. However, the actual concept of an Uber Jason predates Jason X. According to Noel Cunningham, it was a leftover from one of the Freddy vs. Jason script attempts, because in one of them there was a scene where Jason breaks into a sporting goods store and there's a goalie display, and one of the mannequins is wearing a big chrome hockey mask. Jason kind of looks at it and switches masks. That was the genesis of the whole Uber Jason concept. I like this method better.
Yeah, same here. Chrome mask. Oh, hold on. I'll upgrade to a chrome mask. No. This is better. This is him like Terminator. RoboCop.
Yeah.
He's going nuts, All right. Well, Lexa Doig and Liza Ryder had to be released from Jason X by a certain date to start on Andromeda. Lexa Doig as Final Girl Rowan and Lisa Ryder as butt-kicking fembot KM14. Doig and Ryder both had ridiculous run of good fortune at the start of the century, landing their roles in Jason X and sci-fi TV series Andromeda at almost the same exact time, with both projects based out of Toronto, Canada. Oddly enough, it kind of like they flip-flop between movies and shows. Doig went from the plucky survivor of Jason X to the sexy avatar of the ship of Andromeda, while Ryder went to the sexy PVC-clad Stepford wife-like android in Jason X to a plucky Starbuck-like crew member in Andromeda. Yeah, exactly. It's so weird. That's
crazy.
Kind of flip-flopped. Lexa Doig and Liza Ryder in Andromeda, the only way Jason X was allowed to use them was if the producers agreed to release the actresses from production by a certain date to free them up to begin work on Andromeda. As per this agreement, they couldn't even afford to go over schedule by a single day with either actress. Wow.
That's crazy.
Andromeda went on for a while, and it's literally fandom in itself too. There are a lot of people out there. I remember when Andromeda came out on in fandom, and I actually watched it, and that's how I remembered her.
Yeah, I liked
Liza
Andromeda.
Ryder. I don't know why, and it was so weird and strange, but I had to watch it. But I was like, hold on, that's that chick, and I'm like, oh wow, and it's like, wow, they're completely different characters, and I thought it was great.
They were constantly rewriting the script throughout production. Jim Isaac wanted the movie he directed to be funny. Todd Farmer wanted the script he wrote to have cool sci-fi and gung-ho action. Noel Cunningham simply wanted to produce something that came in on time and on budget. Sean Cunningham, of course, just wanted a dang Friday the 13th movie. So, as executive producer, he went over all of their heads and had the script rewritten. If Isaac had his way, the movie would have started. The kids end up falling through the floor into space where Jason is in cryo-freeze and all this stuff. During the search, one of them finds an old condom which has a shelf life expiration date printed on it. This is a Friday the 13th movie, right? So the smart-ass kids should say, cool, let's test it out. To me, that's a no-brainer. They start having sex right there. Then that's what would make the whole floor fall out and bring them to Jason and put them in jeopardy. And you get a beautiful actress to take her shirt off. I thought it was a fun way to start the movie. And a sexy way, it gives what everyone wants. But Sean said, finding a condom is not going to make them want to have sex. It doesn't make any sense. So Sean Cunningham made us cut the whole scene. I mean, it does kind of fit.
It does fit, but it's so not the condom itself, but
how would he I like this one better. I like this way better where he...
Yeah, this way is far better. Where it's like they're frozen in time and they're thawed out years later. It works better.
Yeah. Isaac also wanted to do a party scene where all the kids were getting high and drunk and having sex, but doing so in a zero-gravity bubble. Think zero-gravity kill possibilities. Okay, that I wouldn't mind seeing. That sounds kind of fun. I was like, well, that kind of sounds like the
orgy of the future.
I was going to say it sounds like the corn rave scene from Freddy vs. Jason, but then you add the zero gravity bubble, gives it a new dimension.
Yeah. What did that kid say in that corn scene?
Oh. Well, it starts with this Everclear is kicking my ass.
Yep, that's it. All right, next.
And then we get the flaming machete, which is the best part. Anyway, different movie. Just as he had on Jason Goes to Hell, Sean Cunningham brought in Louis Abernathy to perform rewrites. Then literally 1 week before the start of filming, Abernathy made the following statement to Isaac. Okay, Jim, here's what I want you to think about. Space pirates. All these kids are on this ship out to rob and plunder, and then Jason comes on board and wreaks havoc. Remember, this scruffy dude from the Titanic? That's Louis Abernathy.
They're using Titanic as a point of reference. All right. Well, next up, several of the characters owe their names to EverQuest. It's not surprising considering Jason X's scene of the two characters playing a virtual reality game, but screenwriter Todd Farmer was playing a lot of video games when he wrote the script. In fact, he named the characters Waylander and Soranon after characters from EverQuest. Heck, Farmer even cameos in the movie as one of the guys killed during the virtual reality games, Todd Farmer and Jason X.
Huh.
Holy crap.
They actually rehearsed for a month. Rehearse? For Friday the 13th movie? Why? Because Jim Isaac wanted the acting in his film to blow every other Friday movie out of the water. I don't know that they got that. The associated producer videotaped the rehearsals on camcorder for Isaac, who would view them afterwards to get ideas from seeing his characters in action. The problem was with all the script rewrites, a lot of the time Isaac didn't even know if what the actors were rehearsing was going to be in the movie, and most of it wasn't.
Well, next up, Rowan, male love interest, was cut from the film 4 days into rehearsals. Later era Friday the 13th films have an odd habit of not simply featuring a final girl, but a final girl. And her boyfriend, Jason X, originally meant to doubt that by having two couples survive. Well, KM14, well, her head, at least, and her creator on one side, Rowan and her love interest on the other. However, 4 days into rehearsal, they looked at the script and realized they had no real use of Rowan's male love interest character, even though they'd already cast someone to play him. So they took the poor actor aside, whose name they won't divulge, and gave him, "It's not you, it's us," speech to explain why his ass was fired. Wow.
That happens with a lot of movies, though.
All right, what is your thought of the Rowan love interest? Who do you think that was?
Well, obviously it was somebody that they took out of the movie, so I don't know.
I'm thinking it was the military guy.
Well, they said they took him out of the movie, so this person wasn't in the movie at all. Or
Or
at least that's what this leads you to believe.
I always thought, this could be a misdirect.
But I agree. The military guy, that would make sense.
The military guy, I thought they had a connection,
And she gets really upset when he dies. Or when he gets...
Yes.
And when he doesn't make it to the escape pod.
Yeah, and I kind of caught that connection while I was watching the film. So I'm like, oh, they must have wrote that in, but they kind of took it out, and they're like, all right, well, let's say this, to like divert everything.
Yeah.
But you, the listeners, will have to let us know too in your comments, please. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, it is obvious, like at the very end when they're going away in the escape pod, that there is no love interest for her.
Yeah.
And so then they have the couple at New Crystal Lake.
Yeah, of all things. New Crystal Lake. The new Earth.
Neither the casting director nor the director initially wanted to do the virtual reality scene. What?
Hello, that was the best part of the damn film.
Right.
Screw you, people.
Among fans, the Friday the 13th sequels are often distilled down to one or two memorable sequences, whereby even the film is total and complete shit. You could never take away how awesome that one scene was. And for this movie, that honor belongs to this. You want a drink? Smoke marijuana? Have premarital sex with us? However, neither the casting director, Robin Cook, nor the director, Jim Isaac, initially wanted any part of it. Cook was so adamant that the scene was nothing but gratuitous nudity that she refused to cast the roles of the two topless girls, regulating those duties to her casting assistant. Isaac agreed that it was clearly just nudity for nudity's sake, and the only way he could personally justify it is if they had fun with it and made it really silly.
It was silly, but it was needed.
I mean, it was more needed than the teacher getting his nipples twisted.
Exactly. And he was like in pink lingerie.
Purple.
Purple?
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. I just remembered.
I like purple. I don't like that.
On a guy.
I mean,
with
I
hairy
don't care.
chest.
Some guys can pull off lingerie. That guy could not.
No, he couldn't. But regardless, that honestly, that scene was needed as a virtual reality, honestly, in my opinion.
Exactly like they said. Even if the film is total garbage, you can't take away how awesome one scene was, and that's this scene.
That was like the perfect scene for it.
This one and the liquid nitrogen scene are arguably the two.
Oh, yeah. Those are the best deaths.
Yeah.
They were stupid. They need to hire us.
Well, no, they're not stupid. They let it go through, and it's fine.
But they were ready to cut it.
Yeah.
We should be the editors.
I don't want that job.
I know. All right. Well, next up, David Cronenberg's cameo was done as a favor, but also because he wanted to get killed on screen. Awesome. Canadian-born Cronenberg, the sick and twisted mind behind body horror classics like The Fly, 1986, Jeff Goldblum. Oh, amazing! Essentially loaned his normal Canadian-based production crew to former protege Jim Isaac for Jason X. In exchange, he very much wanted a cameo as a character who gets killed on screen. So he ends up the unlucky recipient of a spear through his back. Vintage Friday, really.
Yeah, spear
Awesome.
through the back is very vintage Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Or, Kevin Bacon from the first.
Yep. Well, it was more through the neck, but...
Yeah, Kevin Bacon was more through the neck, but even still. Even like, what was it? Friday the 13th Part 7.
Yeah, and I think there's spears in the 2009 remake, too.
Yes, there is. Yeah. All right. we digress because we're too much of Friday the 13th fans.
Mythbusters disproved the liquid nitrogen head smash kill. Boo! They just had to go and ruin all the fun, didn't they? In 2010, Discovery Channel's Mythbusters actually tested out Jason X's liquid nitrogen head smash kill, and it turns out it doesn't quite pass the smell test. I must have missed that episode. Now I'm going to have to go back and watch it because I love Mythbusters.
Exactly. Did they really use a physical person's head to do this?
No, they generally didn't. They would use like ballistics gel, if I remember correctly.
I don't care about that. I want to see a human's head go through that process. It's not real, and I see a real human's head. So Mythbusters, prove me wrong. Just kidding. Just kidding. Maybe not. All right, next up. It's the first feature-length film ever to be completed entirely in the digital realm. So, apparently, you hear that Christopher Nolan, the digital revolution you so despise, began with Jason X. Jason X was shot on 35mm film and then transferred to high-definition video to aid in its creation and its extensive, elaborative visual effects shots. This made it the first feature-length film ever to be completed entirely in the digital realm. At least, that's what Jason X producers say. And why would they lie? Why would they lie? Haha, interesting.
It sat on the shelf for 2 years. Damn you, little Nicky, and your astonishingly high $85 million budget. Jason X wrapped filming in April of 2000. It was not released until April 26, 2002. Why? Because after years of controversy and a string of box office duds like Little Nicky, remember that movie where Adam Sandler was the son of the devil? You didn't just make that up, it actually happened. And 13 days, New Line's president of production, Michael DeLuca, was finally fired in January of 2001. He was the only person at the studio who actually believed in Jason X, and his replacement didn't know what to do with it. So they let it sit on a shelf, unwilling to send it to a direct-to-video death, but also hesitant to put it into theaters. Unfortunately, in the interim, Jason X leaked online, meaning by the time it hit theaters, the hardcore fans had long since had the chance to see it, albeit illegally. Oh god, you would have had to download it back then. That would have taken days.
Yeah, right?
Because
I remember, okay, this is a whole thing. I didn't get to see this in the theater.
I saw Jason X in the theater.
I didn't get to see it in the theater. I actually had to wait because I looked all over. I looked at the Poughkeepsie Galleria Mall. They weren't really playing it.
God, I missed the Galleria Mall.
I couldn't get to it at that point. I was working at Circuit City at the time. So where did I find it? I was working at Circuit City in Danbury. And I lived, at the time, in Pawling, New York, which was part of Dutchess County. So, mind you, I worked at Circuit City. I lived in Dutchess County, but I worked in Danbury. But I was like, you know what? And I looked online because I could look up the inventory. We had it on DVD.
Ooh.
In Circuit City. So I went and bought it on DVD at Circuit City. In Poughkeepsie.
I was in college.
That's how I got to see it.
I was in college.
Okay.
And I was walking campus, like I was walking I think I was walking back to my dorm, and my buddy pulls over and he's like, "Hey, are you done with classes for today?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Get in the car, we're going to see Jason X." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Get in the car." The movie theater's got Jason X playing. He's like, but it's not playing for like many more days. Like it was only there for like a blip. He's like, yeah, we're going to see it. And we were the only, pretty sure we were the only two in the theater, but it wasn't like, hey, this was planned. Like I was literally walking back to my dorm. He's like, just get in the car. We're going now. Let's go.
It's fun to go back to those memories of when you actually first saw these things. To me, it was like, I could only get it on DVD because I was looking. I was like, when is this movie coming out? I couldn't find anything, even online, anything. And at that time, Jayme, you and I were living literally within miles.
Well, I was on Long Island right at that point because I was in college.
Oh, okay. All right. So you were like, all right, you were near the city. Yeah. I was still living up closer to where you used to live as a kid, upstate New York, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, all right, well, and I got to that point. It's like, I kept looking, going, oh, we have it on DVD. We don't have it here in Danbury. I'm going to buy it in Poughkeepsie on my day off. And I got looked at going, why are you here? why are you buying this? So, and then I went home and I watched it. So, on top of that, now I do have it on Blu-ray because you could get the whole Friday the 13th series on DVD. You could get the collection. I think I have the Crystal Lake one where you get the documentary with Tom Savini and everybody else in it. And then on top of that, you have all of them, including the remake. So and it has Crystal Lake Diaries in it as well. I've already mentioned it on numerous times to listeners that you could actually go to YouTube and watch all the fan base stuff that's out there too. And I mentioned it to Jamie. There's some really good ones out there. So yeah, I highly recommend them all. If you just do a YouTube search of Friday the 13th or Jason, they will come up and it'll be fan-based made films. You'll have, what is it, Lar Park Lincoln from movie 7, who is in the 7th movie. And she was in that. She did one. And then there's a whole bunch of others, too. CJ Graham actually comes out of retirement and reprises his role as Jason.
And some of them have films. Kane as like a guest star and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah. And they're really, really good.
Is he in My Special Boy? Is that the one he's in? I
think so. But check them all out. You know, there are so many out there that are Friday the 13th related that we do love. And we highly recommend. So, with that, go forth, have fun, go YouTube shopping, because literally it's all free anyway. You might get some ads, but, you know, honestly...
That pays the people who took the time to make the movie.
Exactly. So, check it out and have fun. But with that, with this, we're going to move right along into quotes. So, quotes from the particular film that we do love, which is Jason X. Jamie?
I already said all mine.
You already said all yours? Wasted them all.
Janessa, what's a hockey mask? KM14, facial armor used in a sport outlawed in 2024. Professor Lowe, guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back. And then the one we've said, I think 4 times already. Hey, do you want a beer? Or do you want to smoke some pot? Or we can have premarital sex. Both remove their tops. We love premarital sex. Those are mine.
Well, I only have one considering you took all the ones that I actually had because they were all the great ones.
They're except for one.
Except for one. When they find Jason frozen and realize his age, Brodsky goes, "How long has he been dead?" And KM goes, 4.55 centuries. And Brodsky goes, "That's one hell of a wake-up call." So that's all I got.
They do mention that he has a very tiny brain, but I don't have that exact quote.
It's a very small brain, yeah.
Yeah. Like, how did he survive with a brain so small? And then they say, you know, what's his name? Does just fine. Yeah.
All right. So with that, this is where we get into the part of the podcast of where we could hear you. So, Jamie.
Well, if you like hearing Mark and I talk, we do the Sandman cast on the Podcastica network where we cover the Netflix show The Sandman. The bonus episode is about to come out, and all the episodes for the regular season are already out. Season 2 was announced, so when that comes back, so will we.
As well as Pounds to Pixels podcast, where Jamie and I both do Invincible. And we're still waiting for that to come out, too.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think it's coming back this year, like they promised.
Robert Kirkman, you're Kirkman. I didn't see you at the family reunion. You didn't really say anything. Call me, text me, email me. What's going on, bro? We have to cover this. Apparently, Stephen Yeun, Gillian Jacobs, everybody else, they've done the audio work. When are we getting this? Is it the new year? If it's the new year, let me know. All right, so you could hear us on the Invincible podcast on Pounds to Pixels podcast as well. So we cover Invincible season 1, but we're awaiting season 2. So we're waiting on you, Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman. All right, you heard it. Okay, good. All right. Well, you could also hear me, and I've already mentioned it, on Panels to Pixels podcast. That could be found on the Next Level Online Radio Podcast Network. Therein we cover anything comic book related that is turned into anime, film, TV, basically anything from the comic to film page so that we can enjoy it. Right now, Steve and I had taken a long break. We were covering Umbrella Academy. You probably, by the time you hear this, Rob and I had already covered Werewolf by Night. And we'll probably be moving on into the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Wow, that looks so good.
So it looks so great. So look for that when that comes out, or listen for that. Exactly. So you can hear me on Panels to Pixels podcast on the Next Level online radio podcast network. Obviously, Jayme had already mentioned it, Podcastica, as well as here on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. So, well, we didn't get any feedback because, well, I sent this a long time ago and we didn't get any feedback. So for you to send us feedback, you just have to go to our Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. There you will find images, which I did put down for this particular podcast, but you guys did not comment down.
I can't be mad. I don't comment on anybody's anything anymore.
So
I'm really bad.
But it's all right. You know, I'm just letting these people know. It's like, you know, you just go facebook.com/AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. If you subscribe to the page, literally you'll see an image. Hey, I like that particular movie. Comment down on the image below because it'll state, hey, we're going to be recording this particular episode about this particular movie. Just leave it in the comments below. That's all you have to do. Or if not, you just go to your email and just send us an email at AdrenalineCinemaPodcast@gmail.com. With that, you can just send out a regular texted email. Just type out your thoughts. Oh, you guys really suck. I really love this movie. Oh, I really hated this movie, but you guys are really great. Whatever your thoughts are, you can do whatever the hell you want.
And
or
like
if not, you could just
say hi, like I said on Sandman Cast all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Just say hi. You know, I'm sure Steve will do that again.
That was so funny.
Yeah. But, you know, you just, you know, record yourself and send it as an attachment. And we'll play it and pop it right into the podcast. And we'll comment based about your thoughts. Whether we approve, disapprove, or, hey, just let it be. And just, you know, let your thoughts fly. Because, you know, honestly, I let everybody's thoughts fly. And if you want to be on this podcast, all you have to do is send me an email or just, like, message me directly. But apparently nobody does that. So
everybody's busy.
Everybody's busy. But you know what? You know, everybody wants to talk. Everybody has an opinion about something. But if you have a movie that you want to do, just let me know. That's all you have to do. Send that email out. All right. Well, obviously, you're listening to this particular podcast on your podcast player of choice. If there's a review there, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever, Stitcher, Deezer, iHeartRadio, who knows? Just leave a review. Be honest. Who cares? You know, it's like if you like what we do, awesome. Thank you. If you don't, fine. That's, you know, so be it. That's it. That's your thoughts as well. But just leave a comment and review. That'd be awesome, because that's how we get noticed, whether it be bad or good. It works either way. Preferably good, but you know, whatever happens. But obviously, you're hearing us. So with that, I just want everybody to check out all the other podcasts in the Pyrocore Entertainment Network. That would be Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paik, where they cover everything: disaster, big monster films, thriller films, suspense films. Very similar to what I do, but they do everything that with big monsters in it, and anything that makes you run for your lives. So check them out. That can be found on pyrocoreentertainment.com, as well as Watched It in the 80s, which Jayme has been on.
Yeah, we just did Halloween 3 at Halloween.
Yeah.
The redheaded stepchild of the Halloween franchise.
Which, honestly, I love Halloween 3. It took me years to get into it. In the very beginning, in the 80s, into the 90s, I didn't like it. By the mid-90s, I started to learn to appreciate it. And guess what? I have a silver shamrock t-shirt.
I have some silver shamrock pins.
There you go. So, there is a love for that particular film. A lot of people either A, really hate it, or B, really love it.
I fall in between, honestly.
Really? Okay.
I think I would love for somebody to remake it, honestly, because I think the plot is really good. I think the acting is terrible.
It should just be called Season of the Witch. It shouldn't even have Halloween.
Well, what it was
connotated.
And what it was Carpenter wanted. He didn't want to do Halloween 2. They made him do Halloween 2.
They made him do Halloween 2, but he was also contractually needed for Halloween 3, so he wrote the script.
He wanted the Halloween movies to be anthology movies. Like, each one was a story that happened on Halloween. So he wanted Halloween 3 to be Halloween 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted some other story to be Halloween 3, but that's just not how it worked.
Well, he didn't like the idea of sequels. That was the whole point. So, if he had a choice, They Live would have been Halloween.
I would have been down with that.
Same here. But we already covered that.
I was going to say, we already covered They Live. If you would like to hear our thoughts on that, please refer back to that podcast.
You could also listen to Fantasy Picks Movie Edition with Rob and his guests, including myself, we do like a football fantasy picks about specific movies of a particular person, like whether it be a director, writer, producer, whoever. You could listen to that on PowerCoreEntertainment.com. And we have fun with that. We also do cover specific movies. I think the last one that we put out, Rob and I, we did The Mummy from 2017. And that's pretty much it. All you have to do is, like I said, go to PowerCoreEntertainment.com to check out all the podcasts on the PowerCore Entertainment Podcast Network. All right, well, with that, thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm Mark.
I'm Jayme.
And we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.